he clears away all the cobwebs your Marxist professors wickedly weaved in your skull, and then replaces them with clean, crisp common sense. And now, our fearless host, Brock Lawley.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brock Lawley. I'm the Atheist Antidote. This is my podcast. Thank you very much for listening. I do appreciate it. Today, I'd like to take you back to a time when maybe you were in the throes, the gauntlet, the minefield. That is your high school experience. And if you're listening overseas, I don't know what you call it. Grade school. When you dress up in your little, I don't know what you call it, over the knickers and plaid, pretentious outfits. Anyway, do you remember the social biosphere that you were maneuvering through in high school? And I want you to think back to that time. I want you to try your best. Some of you have been out of high school for decades and decades, but I want you to try to put yourself smack dab psychologically and maybe even, mentally put yourself physically in that environment. And imagine that there's this clique in high school. You remember them, right? Jenny, Billy, whatever their names were. Just get a mental picture going. Now, the clique, the popular clique or whatever, they control a lot of things via the sort of power that you yield to them in that high school structure by way of reputations and what they can do for you. And they're sort of like the media. They're sort of like the PR. Let's just be honest. If you succumb to the high school peer pressure social environment, they hold and wield a lot of power in high school, those people, right? So imagine that you don't hold this power. Imagine you're not at the table that's picking the boogers and eating it, but you're with whatever. I don't know. Maybe you're into the tight jeans, like to read philosophy, like to listen to vinyl records crowd in high school. You're floating that middle space. I don't know if you remember those people. Well, let's say that you find out that the clique is involved in some very evil things. Very evil things that actually have huge liability by way of the entire class that you're involved in. I mean, I'm talking evil things. Go all the way up to the top. Billy and Jenny, in keeping with this analogy. And let's say for whatever reason you're willing to risk it all in high school and you want to expose these things. You'd like to have everybody know what Jenny and Billy are doing. Because if it gets out, it's going to be a huge reputation damager for your class. But more importantly, everybody's material life, rubber meets the road life, is going to be greatly affected by this. So you start talking. You start trying to get the ear of specific people, Maybe even write a column in your high school newsletter. Whatever the case might be, you're trying to expose this truth. But as soon as they spot you veering your head, Billy and Jenny, they unleash the reputation wolves. And they never actually address what you're talking about. So let's say you're exposing the fact that they're taking your class money, the money that you're going to be using to take your class trip and to have your class yearbook, etc. And I don't know, they're partying in the woods with that money. Whatever, make up your own dilemma. They never actually address that. They don't refute that they're doing that. They just go after you. So, any number of things. You're a cross-dresser. You're taking mind-altering drugs. Don't pay attention to that person behind the curtain there. That barking, foaming at the mouth dog. Disregard everything he says. Why? Because, his reputation isn't cool. Why? Because we say so. And there's all these stories we've made up. So pay attention to this. Sort of like a glass, rabbit trick, box mirror trick. That would work in high school, wouldn't it? Because before long, the reputation of the whistleblower would be so maligned that no matter what the person said, true or untrue, it would just be cymbals just clashing in the ears of everybody. They wouldn't care. They wouldn't pay any attention to the details. Well, take that sort of micro-universal experience. Everybody went to high school. And then blow it up like 1,000 times. And that's what's happening right now in your country. There are a few people brave enough. A few people. Most of them independent media sources because they don't have the corporate liabilities, etc. But they're telling you, listen, America, your inheritance, everything that's great about the country, the things that you dream of birthrighting to your children, freedoms, individual liberties, most specifically prosperity and the opportunity to further prosperity, they're being jeopardized by very, very, very evil things that are happening with the Billy and the Jenny of the country. And the media and the machine are doing everything they can possibly think of to discredit the voices that are trying to illuminate these things. But America is acting like a high school. Instead of listening to the details of the people that are speaking against the evil that is clearly being done. And this is the thing, now it's not even ambiguous, it's just wide open. The power structures of our government are just counting on the fact that you just will not pay attention to it. And meanwhile, the very ground within your feet is being eroded away, but you're not paying attention to it. It's a useful analogy because sometimes if you start talking about politics, people just roll their eyes. They don't want to think about it. But that's essentially, honestly, what's happening. And the consequences of a lot of the things that are happening will manifest themselves in ways that are very close to your life. For example, when you get sick, the infrastructure for taking care of you is being just totally demolished, as if a destruction ball is just smashing into it. I'm not making that up. The damage being done to the infrastructure of healthcare in this country is just mind-blowing. But you don't know it yet. Especially if you're younger, you don't know it yet. Because you don't see much of the medical infrastructure. But you will. You will. And your parents will. By that time, it's going to be too late. There's nothing you're going to be able to do. By way of supporting yourself, by way of finding a career, moving up, having the freedom to start a business, giving your children these wide open landscapes of opportunity. That is no longer going to be the case. There is quickly becoming like an elitist class where you have to know somebody, where you have to be on the ins, or these sort of like attack wolves in the government via the IRS who have proven themselves to be this, will go after you. And if you don't think the right way, if you don't conduct yourself the right way, if you speak up against the wrong people, very, very fundamentally un-American things are happening. And everybody who's trying to warn you is just having their reputation maligned. It's important that you pay attention. I don't know how much more clear to make it. It's not rhetoric, it's not hyperbole, it's very real. It's important that you pay attention, and more importantly, it's important that you share what you learn with other people. Believe it or not, there's more of us than there is of them, and we need to have enough courage to fight. And unfortunately, all of our representatives and the fail-safes and the contrasts and separations of power have failed us, and it has to be a grassroots. It has to be the American people starting to care, and the only way I know to do that is for you to sort of spread that word. Right there at the water cooler, right there at your church, at the barbecue picnics this summer, etc. Thank you for listening to the Atheist Antidote Show.
Visit the Atheist Antidote YouTube channel and follow him on Facebook and Twitter.